So we know next year at some point, Mattel will be unveiling its new line of DC figures. That's exciting. There's a lot of uncertainty though. What's the sculpting going to be? What's the scale going to be for these figures? What kind of articulation are they going to have? What's the accessory breakdown? And also, most importantly, what are these figures going to cost us in 2026? There's so many unknowns, but one thing for sure that we do know, and I say this with no hyperbole, no exaggeration needed. This has to be the absolute best line of DC figures we've ever seen at mass market, at retail, because there can be no more excuses. We've started, we've stopped, we've picked up, we've put down so many lines of DC figures. Meanwhile, Marvel Legends celebrating its 20th anniversary. I speak for DC collectors here. We want to have one line, one company producing awesome DC figures for 20 years too. We want to have that massive display of figures, all done in a cohesive, coherent style. How can Mattel ensure that that is them? And came up with 5 ways they can accomplish that. And that's just from looking at the success from other companies, what they've done with their DC based figures. And it's only 5, but I think if they do that, they'll get so many collectors going all in with this upcoming line of DC figures. Let's break them all down right now. What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. The voice, the allergies, is still a pain. We're going to keep pushing through. And I started with this episode thinking, boy, I collect both Marvel and DC. Both of those collection journeys have taken very different paths. For Marvel figures, it started off, of course, with Secret Wars, and then it went to Toy Biz, and they cranked out so many of those great 5-inch figures. Then it evolved to the highly articulated Marvel Legends. Ta-da! 20 years later, Hasbro is going strong with this thing, and it's just been amazing. Yes, I know Hasbro hasn't been doing this for 20 years, but they've been doing Marvel Legends longer than you might think. And it's really cool because there's so many Marvel characters I have, and it's like, man, this collection is amazing. It's awesome. And then I have other smaller DC lines that I'm like, oh, these are pretty good. I wish I had so many more of these. And I wish I had the equal to the Marvel Legend collection I have from one line for DC figures. And I hope and I think that Mattel can do it this time. They gave us a really good line with DC Classics, but I've gotten superpowers. I've gotten DC superheroes. I've gotten DC Classics. I've gotten a plethora of DC Direct figures, DC Essentials, DC Icons, DC Multiverse from Mattel, DC Multiverse from McFarlane Toys. It's a lot of different DC lines in the collection. It's crazy. But I think if Mattel follows these 5 guidelines, suggestions, they can actually make their version of Marvel Legends. So let's break them down. I'm going to start off with my first one, and this comes from DC Classics. This is when they started right from the jump with Wave 1. And then they did a really good job of this throughout the retail history of DC Classics, coming up with complementary waves. And by that, I mean, hey, they had the structure where you had a main level hero, and this worked out so well. You had your A-lister, you had one of their villains, maybe a couple of teammates from various team incarnations, and then a few rando characters in there as well. And I don't think Mattel did a better job of showing the potential for this than their very first wave of DC Classics. So with this one, clearly your A-lister is Batman, but you can see all the different 6 degrees of separation with the Dark Knight here. And again, this Batman is awesome. Neil Adams inspired, right down to the painted cow. Love that. So let's look at the figures here. We've got a C-lister, and I apologize to all Red Tornado fans. He's a C-lister, but he's tied to Batman because they're both members of the Justice League of America. Satellite era representing going strong. Then you take a look at Batman's one of his top 3 villains, Penguin. So you've got a main bad guy for your hero to fight right away. So when you're setting up your display with these first 5 figures in the Build-A-Figure, you've got a lot to work around Batman right from the jump. Batman's Justice League teammates are not just represented by Red Tornado, of course. We've got Orion. And Orion's cool because he diverges into starting off a new Gods collection, but also part of the JLA team from Howard Porter, Grant Morrison, that era of Justice League. And of course, Batman wasn't rocking this outfit, but you get the idea. Then we've got another teammate of Batman, and that's the Build a Figure Metamorpho. So this was a really smart rollout of characters. And we also start Batman and the Outsiders. Little did we know that was going to be the only outsider we got in this attire for the rest of the line. But it was a great start. And then we've got a fringe character with Etrigan the Demon. And this guy is somebody who's interacted in the past with Batman. So that works fine too. And so let's take a look at another wave just to show you what they were doing with this thing. So here is series two. Love this photo from my guys over at the Fush. And you can see what they've done here. Once again, our main list character here is Aquaman. And he's got a variant chase. And you've got a teammate of his, granted, again, not with the same kind of outfit. But we've got two different paths here. We've got Firestorm, who works perfectly alongside him in the Justice League of America satellite era. We've got his main villain in Black Manta. Awesome. Then we've got that French teammate in Superman Electric Boogie Woogie Woogie version. So we've got red and blue. That was pretty cool. Firestorm also has a chase. So a lot of chase figures in this wave. We've got Harley Quinn as a character he doesn't interact with whatsoever, but she starts off something else and she can kind of play along with the Batman that we've already gotten. The Build-A-Figure here is interesting because this is a villain for Aquaman because Gorilla Grodd fought off and fought against Aquaman as a member of the Legion of Doom. He also teamed with Black Manta. So you're building up another team. So this is really good. This is flowing into another. So if you take a look at the first two waves, we've got Aquaman, we've got Firestorm, we've got Red Tornado, and Batman. And those guys make up four members of the satellite era of the Justice League. We've got two members, core two members of the JLA era. So we've got Electric Blue Superman and Orion. So we're rolling. We've got some villains. We've got two members of the Legion of Doom going strong. And here we can show you again, right with wave 20. This is a long way in the tooth for this line, how they continue to do this. It made the strategy really work of complementary waves. So you see, we've got a modern take of Green Arrow, modern take of Red Arrow. So those two pair off with each other perfectly. We've got a little bit of Blackest Night theme going here with the Build-A-Figure Necron, Sinestro Core Sinestro, and the White Lantern Flash. Those three characters all interact with each other. We've got Hawk and Dove, who also have a connection to that event. And we got Reverse Flash, who's also tied to that as well. But you can see how we've got so much connectivity between these waves. And I think if Mattel takes that strategy again, they can have a lot of success. So we immediately start off, since they did Batman the first time, how about doing Superman? They're their main big A-lister. Start off with Superman. Give a villain. Let's go Parasite. He's somebody that can have really creepy and weird. So you do Parasite to go along with Superman, or you can do Brainiac, and he's got different versions. So why not do Brainiac? So we'll do Superman. We'll do Brainiac. Let's give one fringe teammate. Let's do Lightning Lad. So we can have that Legion of Superheroes connection to start off and continue building up that roster instead of just doing a box set we do never add any more team members to. So we got him, we got Superman, Lightning Lad, Brainiac. Let's do a Justice League of America teammate. Why not do Firestorm? Let's throw him in there early. And we can also follow this same blueprint. Let's do a Justice League or JLA teammate. Let's go with Huntress. So let's throw her in there. So we got a little bit of pathway into the Batman universe with her. So there you go. And we'll come up with a Build-A-Figure later. Hopefully Mattel will institute that policy because starting off a new wave, a new line of figures, we need as many as we can get. So it's not this thing of, oh, I don't want this character. If you're starting off a new line of DC figures, chances are you're going to want all of them. So let's do Build-A-Figures with this deal too. So then we go on to my next one. And I think this one can be a lot of fun. I know there's always a concern. Oh man, if you blow through all the A-listers, what are you gonna have 2 or 3 years from now? We've seen from Marvel Legends, there is no way they can possibly exhaust doing all the different looks for all their top tier characters. If you wanted to say, well, DC only has five main characters, I don't agree with that, but you could say that. Let's say it's Superman, it's Batman, it's Wonder Woman, it's Flash, it's Green Lantern. How then are you able to keep those characters rotating in the line for collectors who in 2031 might decide, oh, I want to get into the line, but it's so far in, I can't get into it. I think they can take a page on this front from DC Direct using different artists' likenesses for the figures. So let's take a look and see what DC Direct did, because DC Direct was really on this one. Here is a look at a Redditor's collection of DC Direct Superman figures. And you can see we've got so many different looks. So many. We got a Frank Miller one here. We've got an Earth 2 sorta. We got a New Adventures of Superman. We got an Alex Ross Superman, old classic version. We got a Darwin Cook. I mean, we've got so many different versions of Superman, but they're not done, of course, because Superman can have so many. We got a John Byrne Superman. We've got an Ed McGuinness Robot Superman. We got a Jim Lee. We've got old school, original back in the day Superman Schuster version right here. So we've got everything covered. And I think if they were to do this kind of rollout where, hey, we've got our core base version of these characters, then we can start playing around and doing artist interpretations of these characters. And I think for DC, they have so many great artists to pull from to do an exact likeness. I mentioned them already. Neil Adams, George Perez, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez could be another one. Ed McGuinness, John Byrne. There's so many great creators. Howard Porter, Michael Turner. They can use these different likenesses. Gary Frank. I mean, there's so much. Bill Jimenez. Then they could do some awesome work just replicating that particular style with the head sculpts, with the way they drew them, design them. Maybe one artist does a buffer Superman, then another one. Maybe one artist has a curlier hair Wonder Woman than some others. Maybe there's a difference with the Flash head sculpt than some other artists would do. So many different ways they could incorporate that. Let's do that and make the figures work where you still have those options to buy. And I think a lot of us, after we get our core versions, would really dig specialized takes on these characters. I would probably buy so many versions done in a George Perez style. And like, okay, cool. I know I've got this basic generic Superman, but I'm definitely getting a Perez one too. So I think there are a lot of cool possibilities taking that approach. All right, next up, my third one, essential accessories. And this is one where, sometimes we get a figure line and it's like a bogus thing. Hey, here's a set of fists as your accessories. I think one thing that Mattel's upcoming DC line can do is, what are the core things that are associated with this character? I'll use this as a bad example. The McFarlane Toys Dr. Fate, pretty solid figure, but I mean, when you think of Dr. Fate channeling his magic energies, you think of those onks. I mean, DC Classics had them with their figure, and it was really cool. We got a great variant of that one too. But I think if you think of some of these characters, they've got signature elements. Wonder Woman should have a magic lasso with coiled posability, so you can actually wrap somebody in her magic lasso. Batman should have a few batarangs, maybe a bat grapple. Superman can have some heat vision attachment set up. Maybe it's a separate head sculpt. Who knows? But I mean, there's just, you got to think about those sensible accessories. And there are lots of companies that have done a good job on this. But I think in this case, Mafex has done some really amazing work on the accessory front. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. They've got the Superboy from Return of Superman. He's got his leather jacket. That's amazing. And it's done not as just a one piece deal. You can actually take it off so you can get the full look of how he was in the comic book. It's got that on the back. Like I said, you can take the jacket off, and then you've got some other options in terms of how you display him. He's got his sunglasses. he should have that. He's Superboy. He's super cool, as Tom McFarlane would say. And we got some different head sculpts. Head sculpts are something we really need to see, not just that one neutral expression, which in any doubt, that's the one you should always go with. We've got this stern, neutral expression, the gritted teeth. He's angry, he's focused, and the cocky smile because I'm so full of swagger. Superboy doing that up. And I love that. That's a really great option for him. And of course, that price makes it a little bit harder, but this is what I'm talking about, like, with essential accessories, stuff you would think of like, hey, this character needs to have this. Superboy needs to have a cocky expression, but we also want to see his eyes because he doesn't always wear the sunglasses. And he definitely shows his costume all the way. Sometimes he's not wearing that leather jacket. Being able to do that and not having to buy a separate figure is definitely the way to go. Here's another option that I want to show from the Return of Superman with the Cyborg Superman figure and what they included with him and his accessories. This cannon, this massive thing that he used to blow a head, blow a hole in the Eradicator's head. I thought this was a really cool inclusion because you can actually do this. Boom. That's really fun. And I love that they included that. Mafex does an excellent job with, hey, here are the core accessories that this figure should have. And I think if Mattel does that, we'll have this thing of, oh man, they should have included such and such, or they should have done this. This figure would be awesome. If only we had Dr. Fate's magic bolts. If only we had the jacket for Superboy. I think Mattel pays attention to that and goes, what are the checklist things that people would expect for this figure? I think they'll go a long way to making us really, really happy. For my next one, I've got to give it up. I know I just bashed them on this last one, but I got to give a shout out to McFarlane Toys. This is my fourth one and fifth one. McFarlane has done some really cool stuff with this line, with their take on DC figures. And my first of two from them is this, the really great innovative deals like the swappable faceplates. This added so much to the figures where it wasn't a deal of, oh man, come back later or get the chase for this different head sculpt. Huntress came with two additional faceplates, and that was pretty cool. So you can see this here. Here is the second mask, and here's another one. So you had looks where you could give her the full-on JLA look. And there's a chase that matches up a little bit better, but that was cool. And another thing that I thought was so awesome with these figures, they did such a great job with, was the capes, the wired capes. And we got those with Mafex, but I think McFarlane actually does these better because they're not so wide and voluminous. And you can pose them for really fun dynamic shots. So take a look at Power Girl, look at Huntress here. They can pose really nicely. And the best part about these figures with their setup and their capes, their wired capes, the swappable head sculpts, they're not crazy expensive. At most, with these McFarlane figures, you'd pay $29.99. And for that price, you saw what Mafex was charging, $102.99 for Superboy. And that figure is solid, but man, that's a lot. And you take a look at what we get here with Huntress, and she comes with a decent amount of accessories. She's got two additional faceplates. She's got a crossbow, which she needs, and again, the essential accessory. She's got two other sets of hands. She's got a stand to make it easier for running poses like this one. And her cape is articulated, so you can get that dynamic motion, all for $30. So that's really good. I don't know what the price of these figures is going to be, but I would love to find that middle ground between the high end of Mafex, where it's like you better have everything for $100, to that McFarlane where, hey, we've got this stuff. And again, some of this stuff they did miss out with the accessories, but with those collector edition figures, they really did a great job of including the worthwhile accessories, really innovative technology. I mean, we got swappable faceplates, we even got some swappable hair pieces, very cool. And they kept it all under $40. I mean, $30 is really solid for that. So really hoping they can do that. My final thing, this is another easy one, is that we want to get some differentiations with the scales. We need our big figures. Sometimes we don't need them to be a build a figure. And this is something, again, McFarlane did an excellent job of. We're running the line, did an awesome job with these mega figs, and we got some really good ones. I would love to see Mattel adopt this strategy too. We've seen this more Marvel Legends lately too, where it's, hey, no need to buy a build a figure. You don't need to get six figures. We'll just make a deluxe. So hopefully we'll see this from them with Mattel. And this is a really good example of the McFarlane Toys Man Bat mega figure. This is an awesome looking figure. I mean, check out all the detail. Great, scary looking head sculpt, solid articulation. This is cool. This is what we like to see with this stuff. I mean, Killer Croc is another one, glows in the dark on you, but he's a mega fig. And the typical price on that was $37.79. Again, not breaking the bank for a mega fig. So you can get them now for $30.39. So really solid. So they did really good work giving us these mega figs that we did not have to spend so much money on. Let's take a look at the McFarlane Toy Store while we're here. And I mean, we got this really great Bane figure. No, just because I want to get to him, he's not going to show up. But I mean, look at this. We got the Titano figure with Flash, and this is a little bit more, of course. It's $70, but this is a full size Flash figure that's going to run you about 25. This Titano figure, solid, not as much articulation as I would want, but I mean, to get two figures for $70, not a terrible price. And we definitely need to see some of those massive figures done in a big deluxe format because there's a ton of DC characters, Darkseid, Calabac, Bane, that don't need a standard release, that they need to come out hulking big, but not skyscraper, Giganta, and Apache Chief size. So love to see that. Maybe Anti-Monitor could get a true deluxe figure in this format, but there's a lot of things that Mattel can do. And I think if they follow or at least try to stick to some of these, they could do a really good job giving us the absolute best in all DC comic book line. Complimentary waves. You got your A-lister. Let's get a villain. Let's get some supporting cast members, some teammates, some friends, so that we can all have that 6 degrees of separation from that main hero with each wave. Get different artist likeness working into the line. You don't need to do this right from the start, but as you start doing more Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman's, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, etc., you have different head sculpts, different options for fans of, say, a Joe Kubert. Like, oh, I want this head sculpt for him for my Hawkman figure. No, I want the George Perez version. You can mix it up and do it that way in that style. Let's get the essential accessories as seen from Mafex and keep it at an affordable price point. Do what McFarlane Toys does. Do innovative technology, swappable faceplates. We don't need different head sculpts, so we can just swap the faces and change up the hair. That's cool too. That's something we could work on. Superman figures could have the hair, the long haired sculpt going, and the short haired all in one take. So there are different ways we can make this line work. Then, of course, you got to keep that pricing low and affordable. It doesn't need to break the bank for all of us. Let's get some larger scale figures. I say those five. Of course, we need to have scale consistent. We don't need an Atom figure towering over Hawkman. We don't need a Black Canary looking down at Green Arrow. Keep that scaling right. Let's get great sculpting, a good amount of paint, more than 22 points of articulation. It's got to be the norm. It's got to balance out to what Marvel Legend is doing. But Marvel Legends, not Marvel Legend. So there's so much in store here. I mean, we got so many opportunities with this Mattel DC line. And McFarlane, I think, did a really good job. Some great figures, including that Superman behind me now that you can see on the shelf right here. Great stuff. But I want to replace these figures and I want to get rid of them, but I want to have a great end all be all line of Mattel figures featuring the heroes of the DC multiverse. Let's see what they do. What suggestions, what 5 things do you think Mattel should do with their DC line going forward into 2026 and beyond? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Lyle's Figure Files has been filed.